This hour is brought to you by Jeremy Temple Law Office of Bloomington. Personal injury, criminal, business, whatever you need, Jeremy Temple Law Office will get you taken care of.
Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along.
Welcome aboard to Indiana Sports Beat with Coy O'Leary here on this Friday, March 6th. We are in tournament time, man, and looking forward to it. Todd Leary's here, Jake's at the wheel, and we've got another great day coming at you. Lots to talk about, man. The Indiana High School basketball tournament is underway. Games tonight, games last night. Indiana's about to end their season. It's going to be senior day. The women play in the Big Ten tournament today. Baseball canceled. All kind of stuff going on, not going on. Man, it's just a typical tournament weekend, Todd Leary, that we're getting ready to start. Not quite there, but senior day coming up. That's a big time for these players. And Devontae Green, Deron Davis, man, those guys have been through a lot here, obviously. Some coaching change and up and down play. But you always want to send the seniors off well. You went through that experience, and it is something that everyone deserves to have that day.
It is. It's actually, it can be very distracting from the standpoint of, obviously, now I like talking. I like talking in front of people. I like talking to people. I talk a lot. But at that time, I was nervous as can be. I was scared to death. Like everybody, I can remember with Pat Graham and Damon Bailey, the day that we were talking about, who was going to thank who. And it's nerve wracking. It really is. So to be honest with you, it can be a distraction from your play and all that. I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying,
right?
As a kid, think about
I can't imagine knowing for all that time I'm going to be standing out in front of 70,000 people and talking,
and not knowing what not really knowing what to say. It's just it can be nerve wracking.
Yeah, and back then, Coach Knight really. He seemed to relish this day for lots of different reasons, but he would go out there and talk to the fans and talk about heading into the tournament and just right. It was a different era, of course, but the fans really enjoyed that.
Yeah, Coach Knight is, he's one of those just gifted speakers, and at the time he would always just come up with some angle or something to say that just wasn't what people were expecting. And sometimes it was funny, and sometimes it was serious, and sometimes it was a dig on officials or just whatever it might be. But he always came up with something. So, this time of year, I think one of the geniuses of Coach Knight in what he learned to do was definitely during my playing days, he always figured out a way this time of year to turn whatever attention was going on around the team towards him. So it took the focus off of, like Devontae Green being inconsistent or having turnovers or whatever it might be. He would figure out a way to, he did the funny faces one year, and he would always seem to come up. We had the whip one season. There would always be something he came up with.
And while that was it ended up being a controversial thing. It was not intended to be that way, but it was intended to be a distraction by Coach Knight. Part of it was purposeful.
It wasn't intended from the standpoint it was premeditated, because I can tell you, we were in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and we were walking around the little shops they had on the side of the street, and Pat Knight bought that whip, and we were just kids messing around. We got on the bus with it, and Coach was like, "What are you doing with that?" And he sits in that front seat, and he just had to. He was like, "Just give me that." He's like, "What are you doing? You can't walk around with that." And literally, that was on our way to the shoot around, and Coach took it into the shoot around and pretended like he was hitting Calvert with it, and it was so blown out of proportion and such a ridiculous. I mean, they acted like it was some stunt Coach Knight was doing, and that was so far from the truth it wasn't even funny. And that's just how things can get taken out of context and blown out of proportion. And we all thought it was just a funny thing that Coach was doing, and it was his way of drawing the attention away from us. And hey, it worked. We turned around and beat a team that had beat us by 25 earlier in the season. So you can't argue with some of the things he pulled off.
Nope, got it done, and he could be funny. People, I don't know if people realize that he could be funny. I don't think that was his forte a lot of the time.
Yeah, you know what? You know who realized it? Him. And sometimes he thought he was a lot funnier than what he really was. He kind of had those old man jokes and those old man pranks and stuff. And so, as a 20-year-old kid who sometimes at the time isn't all that happy with him anyway, he would try to pull off some of his quote funny pranks.
What was a classic dumb funny Bob Knight?
He used to always do stuff and try to pull or kind of pull pranks on the assistant coaches. And I think there must have been some inside jokes or something like the players, like we weren't privy to or didn't understand. Probably didn't understand because we didn't care. And he used to always pull things on Felling and Dockich and those guys. And they really just weren't funny, but you had to kind of laugh about them. But
Required funny.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the during that time is when he uttered the immortal words at the one senior day. I think I don't know if it was your senior day. I think it might have been.
I think it was the bury me upside
Jake,
down.
When my time on earth is gone and my activities here are past, I want they bury me upside down and my critics can kiss my ass.
That is maybe one of the most classic Bob Knight clips of all time. It just is. It's just going to that was definitely, you talk about something that people didn't expect. I guarantee you no one in the assembly hall that night was expecting to hear that.
Yeah,
and that
was either Calbert's senior night the year before me or my senior night, one of the two. I can't remember, but it was one of those last 2 years I was there. And you know what? I can assure you there was something going on that someone had written something bad or something about something he had done or something that he just wanted to kind of stick it to him on. But that's the kind of thing, like, if somebody's offended by that, I mean, that's just him being him. And
that's him being funny. That's Bob Knight funny right there.
It is.
I think it's funny.
Here's the crazy part. As an adult, you see that and you're like, I actually can kind of see the wisdom behind it and see what he's trying to, he's trying to deflect the attention to himself. That's right before we're headed to the tournament. At the time, it was just one of those things. We're just sitting back there shaking our head because we're like, yeah, here he goes again. But we enjoyed him a lot of times behind the scenes that people don't realize. He wasn't a crazy nut all the time. A lot of time, but not all the time.
Yeah, I think people get this picture in their head of him throwing a damn chair across the court all day or, with the craziness. And it's just, no one has that kind of energy to do that all the time. Yeah. So, I don't think that they realize that he was actually normal half the time or maybe more, maybe 75% of the time. Yeah. But it's that 25%. It seems like a lot more, I guess.
Well, he goes from 0 to 100 and as fast as anybody in the world. So, his version, his 25% of not necessarily normal is just that much crazier than the average person's.
Have you heard, since you graduated, have you heard your own speech?
No, that thing's like 7 hours long. How in the world could you go back and listen to that? I have not. You know what? I cried so much through the whole thing. It was.
Did you really?
It is embarrassing.
I was there. I'm sure I was there. I don't remember the specifics. But
it was
I was there.
It was like 40 minutes long.
Yours?
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
How can you remember? So you were just talking. You didn't have all that memorized, obviously. You had probably talking points. That's a long time for somebody that's nervous to stand out in front of 17,000 people.
Well, so here's what you do at that point. So depending on how many seniors there are, you break up who all you're going to thank. And, you need to thank the academic ladies and the tutors and And then somebody's got to thank the training staff and Tim Garl and the doctors and Dr. Rink and Dr. Bamba and all that. And then you just kind of keep breaking everything out. I mean, Pat Graham, you're going to thank these guys. And that's, and truly it was the three of us sitting there writing down, okay, you're going to thank these people. You're going to thank these people. It isn't like someone sits over there and helps you write the speech or say what you're going to say or do whatever. And then it always just breaks down as soon as you see, your parents in the stands and, you see your mom crying or your dad crying or whatever it might be. I mean, it's just, and then, everybody is stupid at that point and has a girlfriend, and you thank your girlfriend, and that makes everybody cry. You're just like,
which is kind of funny because then, 5 years later,
5 minutes later, you don't even know that person's name anymore. So,
actually, there is one particular basketball player that I could actually mention. I won't. That actually not too long ago kind of experienced that. But that's a bad deal for them. But just fun times. Great stuff. It's just it was always fun. The fans just love that stuff.
Yeah,
but they'll get the opportunity.
The emotion of senior night is it's a little bit different, and it's weird. And I'll be honest, it sounds
draining. It sounds really draining away from the game.
Positive. Yeah, it's not always positive from the standpoint of how you're going to play in the game, because it can be a distraction, and that's about the last thing you need.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And especially for Indiana, the Hoosiers, they take on the Wisconsin Badgers on Sunday, a team that is fighting for a piece of the Big Ten championship. Indiana's fighting for a piece of the NCAA tournament. They want to get in and stay in. We think that they are in no matter what. But you want to play well against Wisconsin. You want to win. But, I mean, at the very least, they have to play well. But I'm saying that because it's not like this is I'm not calling this a must-win game, but you need to win it. You need to win your home games. You got to show that you're playing at the level you need to be playing at this time of year.
Who called it a must-win game yesterday?
Todd Leary?
No, Joe Lunardi.
Oh.
Joe Lunardi last night on ESPN had a special segment at the halftime of I can't even remember which game it was. Had a special segment at the halftime of one of the games, and his entire talk was about Indiana and Purdue. And he basically said Indiana is his last team in, and if they don't win against Wisconsin, he's probably knocking them out, depending on what happens in other conferences. But he even specifically said Indiana needs to watch San Diego State and needs to watch the Pac-12 and make sure that San Diego State wins their conference. And I was shocked. I couldn't believe it.
They want Dayton to win their conference too. We talked about totally some bid stealers, and there are.
And in that conference, you not just want Dayton to win, you want Richmond to not get to the final. You'd love it if Rhode Island didn't get to the final.
Right. What helped that they just beat the snot out of them. It was yesterday. I think we talked about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right, man. It's getting tighter and tighter again. And some people think it's not between Indiana and Purdue. They're not fighting for a spot, I don't think, between them, but they kind of are a little bit.
On all of his, on Lunardi, and this was shocking to me because as a Big Ten fan, I want as many teams in as we can get. So I want Purdue in the tournament. And, he didn't even have Purdue listed in his next four out. They were nowhere to be found in there.
Oh, now, really? He moved them off that then, huh?
He also said they can play their way into it with a good showing, beating Rutgers. Another one of the things I saw on ESPN was if Rutgers loses to Purdue, they have Rutgers as their first four out.
Yeah.
So
and you talk about now. See, you get credit there. You caught the Rutgers thing like 2 or 3 weeks ago. We started talking about that. You looked and noticed that, hey man, that's a team that can play their way out of that, and they have played their way into that position exactly.
Yep, they have. I mean, truly, if you Lunardi, I don't agree with a lot of Lunardi's analysis of these things, and I say that from the standpoint of I think we've always given him credit over the years for not not having a biased opinion. It has been, this is what's on paper. These are the facts. And this is my prediction based on the actual facts. He's all of a sudden, like, I think he's gotten too big for his own britches.
TV guy, man.
He is. He's gotten too big for his own britches. He's believing.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
He believes he's the best bracketologist now, and now he's using his opinion because he said yesterday, Arkansas right now, and this is the exact quote, I think by the end of the weekend they will play their way back in. Wow. And so he's sitting there predicting now, based on how they're going to play, and you're like, that's not what Joe Lunardi used to do.
Yeah.
He used to take the facts and what was on paper, and that's what he went with. And
now he's predicting games.
Now he's using his own, quote, expertise to think what these teams might do over the weekend. And you're like, well, wait a minute, we can all sit here and think what they might do over the weekend.
So this Purdue Rutgers game is a play in and play out game for both of them. Either one of them is going to play their way in.
Yeah, I think Indiana is above Purdue. I'm not sure they're above Rutgers. So I think we'd probably be better off to have Purdue beat Rutgers in that scenario. But at the end of the day, we're better off to have Indiana beat Wisconsin, and we don't have to worry about it.
There you got that right. Hey, we got lots more to talk about. Plenty on the upcoming tournament. Indiana taking on Wisconsin on Sunday. Taylor Lehman from Rivals is going to join us next. We'll talk to him a little about this and maybe a little recruiting. Who knows? Stay tuned. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat. Roy O'Leary back after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is A.J. Moye.
This is Dan Dawkins.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic. Safe. Effective. Even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
Hey, it's Michael Lewis, former Indiana University player and current UCLA assistant basketball coach, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat. Coy O'Leary with you here on this Friday. It's March 6th, joined now by our friend Taylor Lehman from Indiana Rivals, thehoosier.com. How's it going, brother?
It's going well. It's going well, Jim. Thanks for having me on.
You betcha, man. A busy weekend, Taylor. We got Senior Day on Sunday as IU basketball hosts Wisconsin. You've got IU football opening spring practice on Sunday. Indiana baseball's got now a 3-game set as today's game is canceled because of weather. The women start playing the Big Ten tournament today. Not a lot going on.
No. Some would say it's a quiet weekend.
Yeah. And the IHSAA tournament. Forgot about that.
Right.
So you got all that going on. A lot of future recruits out there maybe playing as well this weekend, but Indiana looking to get a final win here as the season comes to a close and really solidify their slot in the NCAA tournament because, as Todd and I were just talking, they are basically a bubble team right now.
Yeah. I mean, this last game is incredibly important. I mean, when you look at just the way that Wisconsin is playing, and I saw where if the season ended today, that Wisconsin would be the number 1 seed in the Big Ten tournament, and I just feel like it's indicative of kind of Indiana's season where they need to win this game to kind of play themselves out of the first day of the tournament there.
Yeah, and you got Purdue and Rutgers who are also playing, and I just told Todd, to me, that's a play-in game because Rutgers is they've worked their way. And Todd called this a couple weeks ago. He said because of their schedule, they were going to end up being in this position, and they dang sure are. They can't afford a loss to Purdue at Purdue, but yet Purdue is desperately clinging to NCAA hope, and they still have that. And a win over Rutgers, I think, in addition to one win in the Big Ten tournament, puts Purdue back in that tournament.
Yeah. It's a lot of people look at the number of losses they have, but Purdue, I mean, obviously everybody talks about the strength of schedule, and when it comes to Rutgers, you have to win on the road. I mean, at some point you have to win on the road, and this is kind of where the rubber meets the road, and when it comes to, I don't think. I could see this game going either way. Looking at Rutgers' road record, I think when you have like you said, Jim, kind of a play-in game, kind of atmosphere, I think all of that stuff kind of goes out the window. I think games totally change, especially when you have teams that are as inconsistent as Purdue has been, and then you have a team like Rutgers who has struggled on the road. But I think Rutgers just beat Maryland. I think there has to be some carryover from that. But I don't know. They're just two extremely physical teams. It's probably going to be some ugly basketball. I'm really excited to see how it goes down. But yeah, no, when you talk about the way that it affects Indiana too, it's huge. Especially, it's still in Indiana's hands, obviously, because they do need to win. But that game it could go either way.
Yeah, I mean, you got Wisconsin fighting for a Big Ten championship. I mean, I'm sure there's very few people that expected this game to be involved in the Big Ten title game for Wisconsin at the beginning of the season, and it's exactly that. They have a chance to do something that no one expected them to do. I mean, Wisconsin is not a team I had in the top 5, I'll be honest with you, before this season started.
Yeah, no, I mean, especially after losing Kobe King. I mean, after what Indiana fans saw that Kobe King could do. I mean, he wasn't necessarily the most productive player, but he was somebody who could provide some stability, and they found a way to replace him, and it's been pretty impressive on their front, honestly. But they did get Micah Potter back. He provides some depth on the inside there, and it's just it's one of those things where you lean on. I mean, they've really leaned on kind of their experienced guys and the guys that start the game for them. They're one of the teams that can do that, and if you can keep up with as far as health goes, and you can maintain some type of stability and consistency, then usually by the end of the season, you're hoping that you're playing your best basketball, and Wisconsin's they've gotten to that point. But I think this the 3 guard set that they have, including Brevin Pritzel, I think that's really really, I think it's worked wonders for them at this point in the season.
Yeah, and especially, you look at a matchup with Indiana, that does not work all that great for Indiana because Indiana's not been running that 3-guard set. But I guess if you kind of have to consider Justin Smith, that third guard, and defensively on that. But it's fortuitous for Indiana as well. Joey Brunk's play has been elevated here of late. Obviously, we saw him in the Minnesota game play very, very well. They are going to need a great inside presence like they had in that game with Trace Jackson and Joey Brunk for them to be successful against the Badgers.
Yeah, Joey Brunk really is kind of the player that this game centers around, in my opinion, especially in the inside, because when Indiana last played Wisconsin, Nate Reavers is a guy that he can go inside, he can go outside, and those types of fives have really hurt Indiana when Joey Brunk is in the game, because Joey Brunk he doesn't have the same type of he is a mobile guy, but he is 6'11". He doesn't have the same type of mobility that Race Thompson or Trace Jackson Davis have, where they can kind of get bridge together the post with perimeter defense. And if Trace Jackson Davis is if he has to miss any time in this game, which I suspect that he probably will, they're going to need Joey Brunk. Like you said, they need some size on the inside there, and Race Thompson's got to step up too. But I'm really curious. There were some key minutes in that game against Minnesota when it was Joey Brunk and Race Thompson out on the floor, and they both played really well on both ends of the court. I mean, Race Thompson kind of had an off day offensively, but defensively, I mean, they played well as a tandem there on the inside. So I am really curious to kind of see how Joey Brunk steps up and how they counter any kind of dynamic play from Nate Reavers, I guess.
Yeah, and the talk about Archie, his seat got a little warm there. It got warm in certain fans' eyes, I guess. It's never been actually warm. But if he doesn't make this tournament, there's going to be a lot of chatter again. And with the new athletic director coming in, we still don't know who that's going to be. Indiana needs to make the tournament, I think, to give him complete security, but he's not going anywhere. I don't mean to suggest that, and I'm not saying that he should. I'm just saying with what's going on right now, he's going to be there next year regardless. But making this tournament is very important for his future, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where since Bob Knight took over, they haven't had a class that missed the tournament, and so when you graduate a class that never saw the tournament, it doesn't look great. Even if even if they weren't your guys, you didn't bring them in. It doesn't look great, but I think, like you said, I don't think there will be any necessarily changes made, even though, a lot of people like to talk about how athletic directors like to bring in their own guys and stuff like that. But, I think Archie's pretty safe at this point too. But, yeah, I mean, when it does come to getting into the tournament, this season was kind of one of those where you thought his system was going to be more solidified, more his system. This is kind of the type of basketball that he wants Indiana to be playing. But I think there are some shortcomings where maybe he can't necessarily implement that system that he's been trying to implement, and maybe he does need another year. That I don't know. I guess we'll see next year, because I don't think he's going anywhere. But no, I think when you talk about the way that he begins his Indiana career, and you want to show some type of promise for the future. And I think making the tournament with this team, that's been so inconsistent, he's really had to fight to get any kind of a response out of his team. There's a lot of things that have kind of gone into how guiding this team to a tournament appearance would kind of, I mean, in my eyes, would be fairly impressive. But as far as from a coaching perspective, but yeah, no, I think like you said, I think the fans, from a fan's perspective, obviously his seat is hot, but I don't think from anybody who has any type of power that his seat is necessarily hot.
And then, I'm going to talk about this with Todd in a little while, but there's you see a lot of people asking. I have had a ton of fans texting me, asking me over the last month, 2 months, are Archie's hands tied? Or is it true that Archie's hands are tied? And it refers back to the basically the student bill of rights, where scholarships in Indiana are guaranteed for 4 years. So basically, back in the day, if a coach would just run a player off, say, hey, you're not playing, you got to go. Well, they can tell them they're not going to play now, but they can't run them off. See Tim Priller, for example, of that. Seriously. And then, so now you've got a situation, I think, that's going to be happening again here where there may be a scholarship that they would like to use in another area, say for Western Illinois guard Kobe Webster, who has just hit the transfer portal, who is a great deep shooter. He's from Park Tudor High School, but there's not a scholarship available right now. But there's also always scuttlebutt about roster movement.
Yeah. I mean, it is. They have tried to make it more player driven, as far as transfers go and things like that. I think it just depends on whether certain players are content with the roles they had to play this season. I think that obviously they need to bring in shooters. Like you said with Kobe Webster, but it's one of those things too where it's kind of hard without getting into a lot of speculation that I'm not really comfortable getting into, but I think I think that Archie Miller it's unfortunate the way that some of his recruiting classes have turned out. That there was a lot of promise in some of his early additions, and then it just the way that some of them just haven't really seemed to develop. I don't know whether that's on the player or on the player's talent or on the way the coaching staff has worked with them. I'm not really sure who's responsible for that, but it's fact that these recruiting classes early in Archie Miller's tenure here had just not turned out to be the way that he and maybe some other fans were necessarily hoping that they would be at this point. In 2019-20, you were kind of hoping that some of those guys would be more productive and you wouldn't have to lean on others in the way that you have to lean on them. And I think that's you just have to continue to recruit to fill some of those holes. But yeah, when you mentioned like Kobe Webster, and those are obviously moves that they would like to make. And I think they just kind of have to wait and see what's also going to happen with Christian Lander as far as 2020 goes.
Absolutely. Well, they'll have the opportunity on Sunday to punch their ticket for the NCAA, whether not officially, but will absolutely do that. So hopefully they can get that done. We'll be looking forward to that. Also, we're looking at all these other Big Ten games that are going on this weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun watching them, Taylor. I mean, it's going to be fun watching the Purdue-Rutgers battle. These games, you think that these are going to be great games because of what's on the line.
Oh yeah. And that's kind of why this time of year is when people are like, I'm going to sit down this weekend. I'm going to watch some Big Ten basketball, and then you watched the Ohio State Illinois game last night. It was pretty good. And it seems like for every team, there's something on the line, even if they're already in the tournament, there's something on the line. And
seeding. I mean, just everything is so tenuous this year. I mean, the seed line, you can move up a seed line so quickly now. It's just a big win. Boom. You're now a 5 seed instead of a 6 or 7. So yeah, there's just so much on the line. And this year, this tournament with whatever you want to call parity, whatever you want to call it, it's been a phenomenal season, but I think that's going to continue in this tournament. And I'm just giddy about it, man. I can't wait.
Yeah. No, I feel the same. I'm also excited to see Purdue Rutgers and also, I mean, just Indiana, Wisconsin this weekend. I mean, Wisconsin's a really, really good team coming into Assembly Hall, and you know how Indiana plays in Assembly Hall. So if the crowd shows up and there's a lot of energy, which there really wasn't against Minnesota, I think it's going to be a fun weekend.
We'll certainly find out. Make sure you check out Taylor's coverage at thehoosier.com. Of course, that's Indiana Rivals. Taylor, I can't thank you enough, brother. I'll see you soon.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, Jim.
You betcha. There is Taylor Newman. Thanks a lot for him joining us here from Rivals. Looking forward to that. And of course, you can find Indiana Sports Beat on Rivals, the postgame show each time. And soon you will be able to find the Daily Show there as well. So looking forward to get that going. So, but appreciate having him on. We're going to talk to Nick Baumgart later in the show in the next hour about, so the IHSAA tournament is underway. Big games tonight. And of course, that'll continue through the weekend as the champions champions are named, but a lot of IU guys out there. A lot of people hoping to see potentially a Trey Galloway, Anthony Leal clash for a state title. How would that be? Got Trey Kaufman. Silver Creek plays tonight. I think they're at North Harrison down there, so that shouldn't be too much of a test for them. They should be fine. The Jeffersonville and Floyd Central down in the southern Indiana. New Albany got knocked out by Jennings County, I think. But you got Evansville schools and all the big schools in the Indy. I mean, it's just it's fun. It's just fun stuff. But lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat. Todd will be back here in a little bit, and so will I. Stay tuned. You're listening from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. We're back after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic. Safe. Effective. Even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
Hi, this is AJ Moye, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat here on this Friday, March 6th, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Jim Coyle, Todd Leary with you as always. It is senior day on Sunday for the Hoosiers as they host the Wisconsin Badgers. Saturday. Why do I keep saying Sunday? I've got Sunday written down for some reason. We played on so many Sundays.
Yeah, it's been the last 3 or 4.
So used to it. Saturday, I think I've said that like 5 times. Saturday at noon. So, yeah, they'll have plenty of time and then preparing for the Big Ten tournament next week. Lots of high school action tonight, Todrick, and of course you have an vested interest in that as Will Leary and the Flying Carmel Greyhounds will take it on Noblesville, as Noble Tucky is how it affectionately calls them. A lot of people call them.
Yep, it's you know what, they've got a great gym and it's a great environment. And
where is that? Is that playing at Noblesville? It's
at Noblesville. Yeah, that sectional is always. I think it's always at Noblesville. Seems like it anyway.
What's your prediction?
I think Carmel will make 872 passes in the game and will win the game 25-21.
That was going to be my next question. What's the score going to be? Then you got a Westfield Zionsville matchup. That may be a 2020 score as well. Zionsville was one of the schools in that game with who was it? Fishers. It was like 23-21.
Yeah.
Final score is crazy. But they'll be in action. And Lawrence North, big game with Crispus Attucks.
Yeah, I mean that was.
Is Lawrence North the favorite in your mind to win the state championship?
Well, I mean, I think Bloomington South probably has to be in that conversation. But I mean, I think Lawrence North has beaten Lawrence Central 3 times this year. Lawrence Central has 2 very high Division I.
They're good
players on it. They're insanely, like, I've seen them play in person twice. They are really good, and Lawrence North, manhandled them 3 times this year. So it's just that they've easily played the best competition, and they have won against it. So it'd be difficult, I think, to say they're not the favorite.
Speaking of Bloomington South, at 24-0, they are taking on Columbus North at 18-5. They said these next 2 nights will not be easy for the state's top-ranked team in Sectional 14 over there in Columbus. They beat North by 15 in mid-January, but it'll be a tough way to go. Floyd Central and Jeffersonville down in Seymour. There's a big matchup.
That'll be a good one, yeah.
Yeah, it should be a great one. Then South Bend schools, let's see. What about Evans? Silver Creek takes on North Harrison. Silver Creek's 23-2. They're pretty strong in that 3A class, man. They're going to be tough to beat. But see, Bossy and Heritage Hills is Wrights out of us already, or are they just not playing tonight? They may have a bye. No one has a bypass tonight, though, do they?
No, not a bypass tonight, I wouldn't think.
Yeah, so I'm not seeing them, Mo. They may have been knocked out already. Huh. Well, we'll keep up on it, man. It's a lot to get to, though, and it's a fun time. Go out and see a high school game. Go support Indiana high school basketball. That's the future, man. But it doesn't matter if you're talking about IU, Purdue. It doesn't matter. Those are the guys that are going to fill these teams as you go forward. That you want to watch. So go support them.
It's the whole high school experience is, it is just that. It's a fun experience. It's cool. I mean, the sectionals just have this special feeling about them. I mean, I don't know what in my junior year, we had a really, really good team, and we got beat in the very first game of the sectional. And I can tell you, it took me a month to recover from that. Not being a part of all of the play, like it was difficult.
I don't think I have to tell anybody that's listening to us that's from the state of Indiana, but those outside, Hoosiers is real. I mean, that stuff you saw in the movie, it's real. It may not be to that level yet today, but it is, because you got just all these teams now fighting for state titles, and everybody wants their piece of it. But it is. I remember when I was in school, it was just like that. I mean, we did the midday pep rallies. The team takes off on the expensive bus, not a school bus. They were on the good bus to ride to Seymour with a police escort. It was the deal, man. That stuff's real, people.
Oh, it's definitely legit, and that's what. It used to be a thing back then where, it was that for the sectional, it was that for the regional, it was that for the semi-state, and then it was that for the state. It wasn't just, the movie Hoosiers is really about them winning the state championship, but, it used to be just that exciting for a real small school to have a chance to knock off somebody in the sectional. And
it kept building. It builds just like that.
It's that David versus Goliath thing, and everybody wants to root for that underdog. And when they do, it can change a whole town, and it can invigorate a whole town to just be excited. And it's hard to emulate that. It's hard to fake that. It's pretty cool.
Well, and it's because in Indiana, there are so many of these schools that are in towns, not cities. These aren't the big schools. I mean, and it's a community driven thing where, some of the indie schools on inner city schools, you don't have quite as much as that, but yeah, it's just, it's a community thing. We're better than you are.
Yeah, no. And you get some, I'll call them smaller towns, and I don't mean it derogatory. I just mean like you get a town like Cloverdale. I got to follow Cooper Neese from Cloverdale pretty closely for a few years. I mean, he's a legend walking around Cloverdale, and everybody like
Todd Leary was, man, back in the day.
But it's like what you said, like the Indianapolis schools. It's really not that way as much as it is, in the smaller towns and communities. Like on Friday, Saturday nights. Right now in the coffee shops in Cloverdale, they're talking about, or insert whatever little town you want to say. They're talking about the matchup tonight. They're talking about can they beat. They're talking about, hey, check it from the cheap seats and a bunch of mites and all the everything you heard in Hoosiers. Like it's that stuff really happens. That's not just made up in a movie. There's guys there's farmers in coffee shops right now talking about how the team's going to win tonight.
And I guarantee you that is a fact. And it's fun. And I wish I was taking part in that conversation.
I'm with you.
You see some old men sitting around a barbershop. I guarantee you I can see some small town. It's going on. It's happening somewhere.
No doubt.
They're getting ready for it. I talked earlier, Taylor Lehman was on me with his rivals for a minute ago. And one of the things I brought up is I've had so many fans, Todd, text me and ask me about this Archie hands being tied thing, which that basically goes back to the Students' Bill of Rights now that was not in existence when you were in school, but all scholarships now are guaranteed for 4 years in Indiana. So you can't just say, you're out of here, go. But you can say you're not going to play, so you're better off to go find another place to play. So in that regard, his hands are tied somewhat in that regard, but not. They're also asking about that he couldn't yell at players and all that stuff, and that's not true. But his hands are tied as far as the scholarship issue, and it just comes down to whether the player wants to stay and knowing that they're not going to play.
Yeah, but look at it this way: is there wasn't a single player in all the time, and I've not heard of a situation of a player under Coach Knight, and there was no Bill of Rights, like you said, but there was not a single player where they just flat out at the end of the year said, hey, you know what, we're not going to renew your scholarship, because like you said earlier, they are year to year. Like it's not a 4-year guarantee when you go
it is
there.
Now it wasn't, but
right, but I mean, even back then, like they're not going to do that. Coaches are not that way. They are not going to do that to a kid. But what coaches will do is sit down with the player and say, hey, look, what are your goals? What are you trying to accomplish? If the answer to that is I want my education, that's probably the end of the conversation. If the answer is, hey, I want a chance to play in the NBA or overseas or whatever, then that conversation probably steers towards it might be better for you to go somewhere else, because right now, unless you make a dramatic stride over the summertime, your playing time's probably not going to be there next year. And that's when the player, and you know what, you'd rather somebody be honest with you rather than just say, hey, you know what, keep working hard. We're going to figure out a way to use you, because that's not the case.
I agree. Tim texted in and said his daughter was going to get married in a barn in Greenville. And since I'm from there, he asked me if I know any. Said a scene from Hoosiers was filmed there. And if I knew anything about that, I know the place you're talking about, but I have no knowledge of Hoosiers being filmed there. But yeah, but yeah, you're right. I agree. And so, but man, it's going to be, this is a busy time for all of the IU athletics. I mentioned the women, they start play in the Big Ten tournament today. And
this afternoon, isn't it?
Hugely important for them, because they need to do well. They need to move up one seed line, because they're currently sitting outside the top 16, which will allow them to host 2 games at Simon Scott Assembly Hall, which would be gigantic. Not only Indiana making back into the tournament, but to be able to host. Wow. You talk about Terry Morin's program making some strides. Hello. That'll do it for you.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that obviously you don't have to explain the benefits. I mean, we've seen during the men's season all year long the advantage teams have had playing at home. So obviously that speaks for itself. But, it would be a cool thing. I think they've had a couple of slip ups throughout the year that's probably going to prevent that from happening, but they're sitting right there with their destiny in their own hands. They can go win this Big Ten tournament and they'll be in that top 16.
I agree. And they don't even have to win it to get to that 16. I think if they can get, they may have to get to the championship game. I'm not sure.
I think they've definitely got to get to the championship game to even have an opportunity of doing that. I think they probably have to win it.
I think you're right, because they've got to jump over a couple of Big Ten teams.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just one team that they got to jump over. They got to jump over 3 teams.
And we've seen that those top 4 women's teams in the Big Ten, which includes Indiana, Iowa, Maryland, and Northwestern, they're all good. I mean, right. Indiana was playing so well, boy, and they ran into a kind of a little buzzsaw with
the Big Ten on the men's side has a ton of parity, and it's pretty deep all the way down to 11 teams. But the women's side is super top heavy. I mean, those top 4 teams are legit quite a bit better than everybody else.
Yeah, they are. Hey, can you believe that Indiana football opens up spring practice Sunday?
No, that's insane. That's gonna be miserable too, because
I saw snow a minute ago.
It warms back up after today. I saw snowflakes this morning, but I think it warms up a little bit. So yeah, it probably won't be too bad for them out there.
Yeah, but looking forward to that as spring practice gets underway. Baseball, because the weather has been so incredible and nice, except for today. It just plummeted. I saw some snow out there. Well, the baseball team had a 4-game set scheduled with San Diego. They went ahead and canceled today's game. They're going to play 2 on Saturday and then another one on Sunday and make it a 3-game set instead, just skipping for the weather. It's a smart thing to me. No reason to play in this kind of weather now, early season.
Who are they playing?
San Diego.
So we couldn't have figured out a way to schedule that?
We're in San Diego instead.
San Diego.
I hear you. It sure makes a lot of sense to me since it's early March in Indiana.
Man. But I'm sure that's probably some home contract that they had. But if you were ever going to say, "Hey, let's just play a home let's play your home and your home.
Yeah, let's play at your place.
Let's make it your place every year. I'll be fine with that.
We'll do spring ball out there, the whole deal." But I think the women play at 2:25 today. Up in Indianapolis, which is cool. The men's and women's basketball Big Ten tournaments are in Indianapolis this week. The men's, of course, starting next Wednesday. Is Indiana most likely to be playing on Wednesday? I mean, almost guaranteed.
Certainly, we'll be playing. Let's just put it this way: if you are an Indiana fan and you are planning on attending the Big Ten tournament, plan on being there on Wednesday because it's most likely going to happen.
I'm excited. These games this weekend, these Big Ten games, are going to be fun as hell to watch. I mean, because they're all so important.
It seems like every game has a huge implication
as
to what could happen. It's nuts.
Purdue and Rutgers, I was talking to Taylor earlier. To me, this is a play-in and a play-out game. Purdue can play their way in. If they beat Rutgers, I guarantee you Lenardi will have them in the tournament. He may not with just that win, but then all they would need is another win in the tournament, I think, to get there.
I am in agreement with you. I just don't think Lenardi is in agreement with you. He doesn't even have Purdue listed. He's got them listed like 9 teams out right now, which is, to me, just seems weird. He last night, if you go back, get a chance, go back and watch what he was saying last night. He made up, and he said this out loud. I'm not saying this. Like he said, I'm making up my own new category, and it's called TML, too many losses. And Purdue falls into the category of just having too many losses. And I'm like, all of a sudden now, like I have done nothing but respect him, and I still do. But I really think he's getting too big for his britches right now because all of a sudden he's injecting his opinion and what he thinks might happen instead of just looking at the facts. And I think over the years is what he's been so good at.
And I feel sorry for him because he's actually a victim of his success because he is for so long has been the guy, There has only been one. You know, Joe Lenardi for bracketology.
Yeah.
Well, now we've got our
there's
friend Mike.
750,000.
Everybody, CBS is doing. Our friend Mike DeCourcy does it, and they're very successfully. Jerry Palm. It's just there's many.
Some dude at the game last week gave me his business card, and his title was bracketologist, and I've never heard of this moron.
Anybody's a bracketologist.
Apparently, anybody can be a bracketologist.
I'd love to see. I hope you still have that.
I'm gonna make myself a PhD in bracketology.
Do you still have that card?
Yeah.
I want to see who that is.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
I'm gonna Twitter bash this guy. Just for fun. No, I'm kidding. I don't do that BS, but just for fun.
Dockage. You're going to dockage him.
Yeah, I'll do it. No, Danny has 750 million followers, and I have 6.
He definitely has a little more reach.
He's got 1 million. Did you hear? Did you see him? Wasn't he doing the game last night where Bob Knight was at it at Ohio State?
Oh, was he? Oh, and I forgot to mention that. I'm glad you meant. I've got that written down. I meant to mention that. I don't know if he was. I'm sure that was not an accident since he did not get to do the game where Bob returned to IU. So I would say I didn't see the game, but I would say that you're right. I'd be shocked if he wasn't on it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was, and he was, and it was, look, Danny's a professional. First of all, I mean, he's not going to handle that in a bad way, but and at the end of the day, that was about Coach Knight and all the other stuff, and I listened to Danny during or whatever. He was great, and he handled it perfectly, and it was just, but it's just, I'm glad Coach Knight is going around doing that stuff. I'm glad he's out and about.
We'll talk about that a little bit more. He was over at Ohio State last night. Hey, you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat. Coy O'Leary with you here on this Friday, March 6th. We're back with more from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is A.J. Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic. Safe. Effective. Even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
You're on the line with Jamal Meeks, former Indiana Hoosier, number 23, 1992. And I'm on the beat with Jim Cole.
Hey, welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat here on this Friday. Coy O'Leary with you, as always, from the Golf Club Eagle Point Studios. And something that we talked about a little bit earlier this week, because I'll be honest with you, I did not know that the quad one wins, they move. I mean,
ever changing, depending on the other team's net ranking.
A team can earn a quad one win, and then a month later, that team is no longer quad one worthy, and you lose that, which I think that's crap, because you could play a team today that is an incredible team. You get this big win, and a month later, they lose their star player, and now they go into the tank. Well, that doesn't take away from the win that you got, because it was very hard and a difficult win. But it does. I cannot believe they changed that, Todd. That's crap to me.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't see how that makes sense. But they didn't ask our opinion when these things came out. So obviously they don't really care what we think.
That's a fact. But that just sucks, because I mean, injuries affect teams all the time, and it definitely makes them not as good. I mean, which is it? Is it the Iowa? Is Iowa the team?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Is their loss to Purdue at home
knocked them out of the top 30?
Took a quad one win away from Indiana. I'm like, that's crap.
It took a quad one win away from anyone that beat Iowa on that team's home court.
And you know what? They are making my example, because they're down to 6 scholarship players?
Yeah.
So, and they lost one of them one or two this year. So that's, I'm not a fan of that.
Nope.
Not a fan of that.
I'm not a fan of it either. But you know what? This is one thing that they are doing that I do think they're doing better, is they're not the quad ones. Like, we could sit here and make a big deal about that, except for that's only one factor that they're taking into consideration nowadays. Now, it is a factor, but it's not like they're basing, it's not like 70% of what they base is off of quad ones.
Right. Correct. We talked a little bit before we in the last hour, a little bit about Bob Knight was honored over at Ohio State, the entire 1960 team that he was a member of, with a couple of guys named Jerry Lucas, John Havlicek.
Yeah.
You ever heard of those guys?
Were they any good?
I think they went on the G League or something.
Do you know how many times I have heard over the years, Havlicek would kick your ass. He would have put you in a trash can. Havlicek was the toughest son of a bitch. I mean, it was – Havlicek was the best player in the history of the world, according to Coach Knight.
He may not have been too far off.
He's
pretty good.
Before I was alive, so all I can do is watch the black and white video of it.
Can you – man, what would you have given to have seen Bob Knight play against these guys and have them bully him around a little bit?
Well, I'll tell you what I would like. I would like to see some game film of him not rotating and being in position. And I would like for him to have to sit in my seat and me get to analyze that video with him sitting there. And he can't get up, and he has to listen to, and he has to answer my questions where there's only two options. Either he didn't care about winning or he didn't want to win. One of the two. There's only two options.
That would be funny. I'm surprised that someone, with all the managers you guys had, I can't believe you all did not put one of them or two of them on a mission that they had to come back with that game film.
What for? What? Like, what were we going to do with it?
Watch it, so you can find that.
Yeah. I'll let you fight that battle.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I know well enough. Not even there, and I know well enough that would not have been something to participate in. Indiana is on the at home again on Sunday, like we said, after the game.
Saturday.
Golly. Saturday at noon. After the game, coming to you after the game with Todd Leary, of course, live around 2 p.m. Saturday as we come to you live from Yogi's. Last regular season broadcast as we prepare for the Big Ten tournament and then hopefully and expectedly the NCAA tournament. Looking forward to that. Then now you got to wonder if Indiana gets in, man, are they going to end up getting shipped out west because of a low seed or whatnot, which doesn't matter to a lot of people, but it'd be kind of cool if they were closer.
Like I'll tell you this. This just puts you in the mind of a player for a second. Is you would think, like, everyone sits there, and I think the coaches even think, hey, look, let's get us close to home. If there's a venue in Louisville, we'd like to play there. If it's in Indianapolis, we'd like to play there.
Players probably want to be as far away as possible.
As a player, I want to be the warmest place possible. I don't care how close it is, as long as it goes south. And that's truly what I used to look at all the time. Like, as long as we played in Texas, great. That'd be awesome. We played in Boise, Idaho one year.
And
Shaq Fu.
We got to talk about that. But that brings up another thing. You watch these games, and it's not quite as bad as it was maybe back in your day, but you'd be watching one of the early games, a 12 o'clock game or something, and there's like hardly anybody there.
Yeah.
What is that like, playing a game of such importance in an environment like that? You're away from home. It's a neutral site, so you don't have to either home going. But there's not a lot of people there. It's a little weirder. The ball sounds weirder. It's a little weirder, I would think.
Well, this is not a joke, and I'm not trying to be funny, but this is why Indiana's fan base is the best, because we never one time ever had that. There were always Indiana fans always showed up, no matter when it was. No matter where it was, we always had a great showing for that. Now, which I think part of what you're talking about. So if you've got 4 teams at a venue, the seats are broken up into 4 sections out there. But it's also, it's like, that this is why Indiana is a blue blood and would have to lose for another 40 years in a row before they won't be a blue blood.
Did you see that pay great dividends against the other teams then when they didn't have that support?
Yes. To an extent, but you know what? There are so many Indiana alumni and so many, all over the country that, trust me, we had no issue filling those seats. And if other people didn't buy their seats and didn't fill them, Indiana fans bought them. And that's why, but I'm saying, hey, if it was Kentucky, it'd be the same case. If it was Duke, it would be the same case. Like, no matter where it is, people are going to come watch it. People from, Albuquerque, New Mexico don't get to watch Indiana play that often. So, if Indiana is out there in that region, they're going to show up and they want to watch those games. And that was kind of the Bob Knight factor back then.
A lot of alumni out there for Indiana.
Yeah. I mean, they're everywhere, but it's also, purists and basketball fans, that live out West. I mean, they don't get to see Indiana play live that often, and they're not going to pass up that opportunity. It'd be the same case if it was, that's why you look at teams like Kentucky. Kentucky's a blue blood. Duke's a blue blood. Is Ohio State a blue blood? No. Do they have a huge, gigantic fan base? Yes. All over the country. So, they're a team that draws a decent crowd, but no matter where they play, but nothing like Indiana.
This may surprise you, and you may disagree with this. So a lot of people may disagree. I don't consider Michigan State a blue blood yet, simply because I don't think they have enough national championships. But they're right on the cusp. I'm kind of back and forth because they've been their success has been sustained for so long. They've always been competitive, but I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's a debatable question, but I guess I kind of look at it as they won some national championships with the coach that was there before, and Judd Heathcote. I think they won one. Yeah, they won one,
and I think they've won one since.
You sure? I thought Izzo had more than one.
I don't think so.
Izzo only has one?
2000, I think.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that's probably.
I don't put them in the blue blood cuss. So they're just outside. They need another national championship for
their application is still under review right now.
That's exactly
but they're it's being reviewed. There's a whole bunch of applications, but right now they're just being
thing you have ever said on this show.
They're being talked about.
Oh man, yeah, they have a chance. I mean, in this season, I can't wait till we start talking about this tournament because it's crazy because for one thing, nothing we ever say is probably going to come true in this because this is going to be a complete crapshoot.
Well, here's what I'll tell you. Like you want to talk about You want to talk about being nervous about a game all year long? I'm nervous about this one for tomorrow because it makes my next week, like my anxiety level for the next week can either be on high alert or can just sit back and kind of relax. Because if they win this game, I know they're in no matter what.
Absolutely.
If they don't, it truly is in the hands of the committee. And that, I don't love that feeling.
Yeah,
and here's like, think about this. If Indiana has made the tournament, let's say 6 years in a row, whatever number you want to come up with, that's a decent number. I definitely do think that factors into the kind of eye test bubble issue. But the fact they haven't made it in 3 years, I think works against them. And I truly believe that you have to earn that. You have to earn that little extra bump. And Coach Knight earned that. Tom Izzo's earned that. Duke's earned that. And I don't think Indiana is at that point of earning that yet. So that's why they can't leave any doubt in anyone's mind as to whether if they win tomorrow, they're fine. Totally fine.
I'm in this media pool. It's called the Jerome, and you pick all the conference champions. They sent that out in 2 batches. There was a first group that I picked, and I've got yet to pick my second group. It's due on the 9th, so we'll see 6, 7, 8, 9. It's due on Monday, I think. Maybe on Monday we'll use.
Well, they better hustle because there are going to be some champions already declared by then.
Well, yeah, they've already got there's a first section that's already out.
Gotcha.
And then there's the second section that's due on Monday, which I'll have to turn that one in. But I was trying to pull it up real quick because the scores.
I'll tell you this. Indiana fans, you want something to root for over the weekend? Root for Northern Iowa to win the Missouri Valley. Because you do in bubble teams, Purdue fans, you want something to root for? Root for Northern Iowa. You do not want an upset in the Missouri Valley. You want Northern Iowa to win that.
Yeah, Indiana. Well, first of all, if they beat Wisconsin, they don't have to worry about it, like you keep saying.
Agree.
But along the way, for their own benefit, you want to see Dayton win the A-10 tournament. You want to see those little bits.
You want to see San Diego State win.
Purdue, Rutgers, they want to see less bid Steelers as possible.
No doubt. They need it as bad as we all the bubble teams need it. But what you really want to happen is you want all of the favorites to win. And you know what? That's a ridiculously stupid statement because we all know that's why it's called March Madness, and that never happens. So
yeah, and Indiana's different because they can literally punch their ticket Sunday. They beat Wisconsin, they are in. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what Joe Lenardi says. If they beat Wisconsin Sunday, they are in for sure. Purdue, they can beat Rutgers, and they're still not in. I think that they're on their way at that point, but they're not in. So they can't punch their ticket. Indiana can do that, and they need to take care of business and just get it and be done with it.
You know what? Look, I'm going to say we haven't talked a whole lot about Wisconsin, directly, and I'm still going to say we talked about it yesterday, and we talked about how do you prepare for them? What do you take away? What do you what are their strengths and what are their weaknesses? You know what their strengths are? Leadership, and they play well together, and they play pretty good on defense. I mean, I can't sit here and tell you their leadership is their best qualities are the fact that they shoot the ball really well. They don't shoot the ball any better than Indiana half the time. So they're not like they are the most overachieving. They're the one team I can usually give you some examples of why teams are where they are and why they're successful and why they're good. I can't with Wisconsin because their players are not that good. They're definitely not that talented and not athletic. They're not fast. They don't go up and down the floor. They might not have a guy on that team that could barely dunk. Like they're not that great. They just play well together and they understand how to play. They got some veterans on there.
Indiana, they run kind of a 3-guard offense, and that kind of goes against what Indiana's doing. But Indiana's inside play in the last game picked up. Joey Brunk had a really good game to go along with Trey Saxon-Davis. They need that same kind of effort, same kind of performance against this Wisconsin team on Saturday.
Well, yeah, and you know what? Like I'm just going to say this now. Like Joey Brunk, let's forget trying to worry about changing the lineup. I think we've proven the starting lineup's not going to change. But Joey Brunk is really set up for I want him to do well. but he's set up for failure in this game. This is not a good guard for him. Guarding Nate Ruvers, or I don't even know how to say that kid's name, but guarding the big guy for Wisconsin, that's not a good matchup because he can step out and make threes. He's very good at it, actually. He can make a 17, 18-foot jump shot, and he can put the ball on the floor and drive to the basket, and he's definitely quicker than Joey Brunk. So Joey Brunk is set up to have, he's set up to have a very difficult defensive game. And don't be surprised if it's not one of those games where, he's out of the lineup faster than normal because it's just a difficult matchup for him defensively.
Yeah, and we're also going to see with this Indiana team, and I talked about this, is the want. They're at home. They have to have this game for survival. Wisconsin wants it for championship, for feel good. Indiana needs this for survival. How important is it to this team? How hard are they willing to work? We'll see that on Saturday.
Yeah, but I mean, we will. I think they're there at that point. I think that they're,
agree with you.
I really feel like they've kind of turned the corner and are figuring out not just how to rotate on defense, but how to get better at it, how to anticipate it, I think they're moving past that learning what to do stage, and now they're learning how to get better at it and improve at it, and that's that's a good sign. Look, this team can get very, very good. I think coaches really shy away from agreeing with this, and I think that they go a different direction. But I can back it up with statistics and numbers, so I don't know why that's the case. But Indiana's success, I think, really boils down to making shots. And when you make shots, you make up for a lot of other things. You make up for some missed rotations and things like that. When you don't make shots, you have to do everything else perfect. And that's really difficult to do.
Yep. Kansas respond to the NCAA allegations with there are 5 level 1 violations. They, of course, refuted all of them.
What? I mean, what? I'm sure they just looked around and about what?
They're like, lack of institutional control. What are you all talking about? You're crazy.
What? Come
I
on.
love that. I hope they sent their response in with a picture on the cover of Bill Self in his Adidas shirt and gold chain, giving him the big deuces. I hope that was on the cover of that. That would be.
I mean, I just picture them sitting back going, "Who? Us? We would never do something like that." And they hope the NCAA goes, "Oh, okay, yeah, you're right. They wouldn't do that."
Up in Minnesota, the team that Indiana just beat, Richard Pitino. Season hasn't gone, but they've had some health problems on that team, so he can't be blamed completely for that. But there's apparently, Tim texted in, a lot of fans up there crawling for Jim Beeline to come in. Everybody thinks he's going to rescue everything. He didn't
Is that
start
John
out,
Beeline's brother?
John Beeline, brother. He didn't start out great. He his first 4 seasons at Michigan weren't all that great, so it took time for him as well. So I don't know if they think he's a miracle worker. Because
do people realize that he's 132 years old?
And that's another thing. It's like, and that's my point with it took him time to get Michigan going to where it was. He's 7 or 8 years old. He's going to be in his 70s by the time he got back to that. I just don't see that.
He's apparently the new college basketball whisperer or something, because he's everybody's answer to fixing their issues and their problems. And I just he just got fired from a job. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. Did you see he was at Michigan's game 2 nights ago or last night or whenever it was?
Crazy.
He was at their game yesterday. But I mean, hey, you know what? Here, look at this. Minnesota, I don't disagree. I think Richard Pitino has had, 7 years or whatever it is, ample time for them to get better, and I don't see them getting that much better. I don't disagree that he's definitely should be on the hot seat, and they should be looking for a new young coach out there. Get somebody that they can build a program with for 15 years.
Tim Miles. Jake says Tim Miles.
Who's Tim Miles?
He's the guy that got fired at Nebraska.
Oh.
There's no way. I like him, but I don't see it happening. But, first of all, we're talking about Minnesota. This is not the easiest place to build a program.
You didn't use your accent.
Minnesota.
Minnesota.
We're talking about Minnesota. Not the easiest place to build a a program. And then they've had some health issues. They have some players get hurt, but you got Race Thompson who ended up at Indiana, and you got that other kid that ended up.
Well, look, here's the deal. I think about how difficult it would be to recruit there because
who wants to stay there? You just said you want to go to someplace warm. It's the first thing you thought of.
Well, and so if you've got a chance to go to, if you're from Minnesota and you've got a chance to go to Wisconsin or Iowa, you're probably going to go to Wisconsin or Iowa over Minnesota. So they're stealing a lot of your better players out of there. And, you know, what the last kid that just went to Marquette, wasn't that kid? Was that kid from Minnesota?
Yes. That's the kid that Indiana wanted.
Right.
I can't even think of his name right now.
I can't.
Yeah, Dawson Garcia.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there you go.
We write these guys. I forget their names the second they commit somewhere else. I forget their names, but
yeah, we're gonna talk to Nick Baumgart next to talk some recruiting information for the Hoosiers. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Coy O'Leary coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Back after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dawkins.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic, safe, effective, even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
Hey, it's Michael Lewis, former Indiana University player and current UCLA assistant basketball coach, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat here, coming to you from the Golf Club Eagle Point Studios on this Friday. Joined now by our friend Nick Baumgart, Indiana Rivals, thehoosier.com. Nicholas, how are you?
Hey, brother, better than I deserve.
Lots going on in Indiana high school action involving recruiting for a lot of people. A lot of guys getting, I was talking to Todd earlier. His son Will plays tonight for Carmel as they take on Noblesville. A lot of big games. You got Trey Kaufman in action down against North Harrison. Floyd and Jeffersonville going at it. There's lots of teams in Indianapolis. I think, is Christian Lander, did they get knocked out?
No, they played tonight, 5:30. Yeah, the early game. They got
okay.
the bye.
Who are they playing?
They play Evansville Harrison.
Yeah. Pat Graham, the Fighting Grahams. No, that's Harrison.
No,
he's Memorial. He's Memorial. My bad. Yeah, he's Memorial.
Yeah, he went private school on us. That's got you, Pat. But anyway, yeah. So they have Harrison. Harrison got by Jasper on Tuesday. So Christian had the bye, and they play the first game tonight. And he's looking for a sectional 16 title.
You got Trey Galloway, and Anthony Leal also out. And a lot of people hoping to see a Leal-Galloway clash for a state title now that Culver got bumped up off of their success of winning and going to the state championship.
Yeah, well, you got a lot of contenders there. You got Lawrence North, Warren Central are tonight. They play tonight in the first game. And
how good is this 4A this year? This 4A, there's some teams that just jumped up that are pretty good, aren't they?
Yeah, Lawrence Central got beat the other night by Lawrence North.
Third
11.
time.
Yeah, crazy. I mean, that's you got 3 Division I high major recruits on that team. I mean, it's just how good things are right now. So interesting stuff going on. You talked about Galloway. He had a great matchup the other night with Blake Wesley.
There's another name that Hoosier fans know well. He's a shooter out of South Bend. South Bend Riley, was it? Or they lost to Galloway. But, yeah, that's a kid he's a great shooter, but Galloway got the win, huh?
Yeah, so Galloway had, as my game report goes, he had he drew the defensive assignment on him, scored 20 points, got into a little bit of foul trouble. Wesley's very raw, athletic, quick, 6'5", just a tough cover. Even as a junior, and got Trey in a little foul trouble, but Blake Wesley ended up getting he got 24, 8, and 5 after Galloway had kind of went out with some foul trouble. So Galloway's back in action tonight, first game against Plymouth at LaPorte. So if anybody's in the area, early game, Trey Galloway.
That's there you go. So then also down south, you've got Trey Kaufman, Silver Creek taking on North Harrison. They shouldn't have much trouble there, I wouldn't think.
So they got by North Harrison by 8. This was back in December, I want to say. Yeah, 55-47. So that was at Silver Creek. This will present possibly it'll be their toughest test here in the sectional. And then they move on, and they'll either have Bosse or Heritage Hills or Greensburg in the regional. I have to look and see how those pairings pair up. But, yeah, Trey had 22 the other night. Pretty, they had Charlestown, which was expected. Pretty ho-hum win. Tonight's going to be a little more of a test. Yeah, North Harrison's 18-5. So, they'll, we'll see. I fully expect Silver Creek to come out of that sectional.
Of course, Anthony Leal and Bloomington South, number 1 in the state. I forget what their record is, but they were 24-0.
24-0, yeah.
24-0 undefeated. They've had some close wins. They had a really close win over Trey Kaufman in Silver Creek. They had a really close win over Floyd Central, but they got the win. Can they go all the way undefeated and win again?
Well, that's going to be tough. They've like we just mentioned, those teams, North Central, Warren Central, Lawrence North. I guess Lawrence North, North Central are the two that kind of stick out to me right now. They've got a test tonight. Tonight won't be easy. They got Columbus North. Coach Ferguson's great coach, Paul Ferguson at Columbus North. So, then they got by him this year, I think I want to say by 14 back in December. So, and that was the first time I want to say that anybody scored 50 points on Bloomington South this year. So, it could be exciting.
Who else is out there that Indiana's looking at that's still in action?
Well, you've got a kind of an interesting sophomore, Braden Smith. Smith.
I've heard that. I've heard that name.
Right. He's played against the 33rd toughest schedule of the season. So not a slouch schedule. Sophomore at Westfield, averaging 20 points, right around 5 assists and almost 6 rebounds a game as a 5'10" point guard. Shooting 40% from 3. Again, his height we'll find out. Can he grow a little bit? But he's back in action tonight. They won the other night, and they're at Noblesville, and they have Zionsville. So he's an interesting young man. Obviously, Leland Walker from North Central is pretty interesting sophomore. Again, there's some nice sophomores, point guards. Tayshawn Comer, who got beat the other night, he's at Cathedral, so he's done. Dante Davis is done at Lawrence Central. We brought him up. Indiana's been out to look at him. So, Lou Good's back in action. I don't know exactly where Indiana stands with him. We're going to try to get to the bottom of that, but I don't think that's a real – but Homestead is back in action tonight. So that pretty much covers everybody that in-state that Indiana's looking at right now.
Plenty out there, a lot to get to, and of course, Christian Lander. I had him on the show, and he's more than likely going to be reclassifying into the 2020. I mean, it's not a question of whether they wants to. If they can get it done, which I would think that they will get that done. So expect to see him in that 2020 class. But I talked about this a little earlier with Todd. There's that Kobe Webster kid that I know he's out there that everybody's kind of talked about because everyone knows he's a successful three-point shooter. He's from Indianapolis, Park Tudor High School. Indiana does not have an quote-unquote available scholarship at the moment, but I think that may change, but I can't say that with any certainty, and I definitely don't say it with any knowledge of it. This is just looking at the situation. When you see a player who all of a sudden – their minutes are cut to 0, you kind of know what the writing on the wall is. And I think this is a roster change we possibly could see next year.
Interesting, Jim. I saw that person who's not getting minutes right now after the game running through the tunnel there right by the media room, giving high fives to the media security guards and stuff. He was in a great mood. So,
maybe not.
Testament to him. And, I don't know. I have no clue at this point.
Yeah, it's so. But, I talked about this earlier today. There's been people talk about Archie's hands being tied because of things. And I think most of that was about how he's able to coach his team, it's not true. But there's some truth to that with as far as the rosters goes, because you can't just run players off it's not as easy as it used to be. But we'll see how it turns around. But, there's definitely interest out there. Usually if the need is bad enough, you find a way to make it happen.
No, I mean it's going to happen. I've heard Purdue could be in the asset acquisition business as well, which would mean that they would have to somebody would have to go as well there. It's just a part of college basketball. It's one of those dirty secrets that nobody really likes to talk about, but
it's the business side of it. I mean, the coach's job is to win, and now the thing is where it gets tricky. It's because when you're talking about their own players, this is not a player. We're not talking about a player that came from a different regime. It's a recruited player. It's a little more difficult because that's now you're having to say you made a mistake or whatever reason things aren't working out the way you thought that they would, and you have to pretty much renege on the promise that you made.
Very tricky situation too with Anderson. Just in the fact that you've got a lot invested in him. You chose him over Aaron Henry. And Blake Wesley has a pretty good relationship with Demezi. So, there's repercussions here. We'll see.
Yeah, there certainly are. A lot of action tonight, like we said. So that means a lot of champions to be determined this weekend and a lot of guys to be eliminated. So in the IHSAA tournament, get out and watch some high school basketball. Support high school basketball. Where are you going tonight?
Oh, I'll be in Evansville. I got to watch Christian Lander.
Now, he plays the early game, so you're going to they play Harrison, you said. It was at 5:30? They got the early game?
Yeah, they got the early game at 5:30.
That's 4:30 in America on Eastern time. Then so who are you going to see after that?
6:30 Central, if you're out there looking. Then I'll probably jet home and jump on some live streams. Go out, watch. If you can't get out and watch a game, IHSAA TV has a lot of great games on there. Those guys have done a wonderful job this year as far as putting games online. Has made my job a lot easier, cuts down on my travel. So Yeah, I'll have that live stream going on somebody, probably Trey Kaufman, the early game, watching Christian Lander, and, just scoreboard watching tonight.
Looking forward to it, man. Nick, can't thank you enough. Appreciate you.
You know it. See you guys. Have a great weekend.
You too, brother. There's Nick Baumgart joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat. Coyle and Leary on this Friday. That's going to pretty much wrap it up. Let Todd sneak out a little early, not feeling the best, as we come into you here from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Now, tomorrow, of course, Saturday, Indiana taking on Wisconsin at the Simon Scott Assembly Hall at noon. That means after the game with Todd Leary, we'll be coming to you live immediately following around 2 p.m. Go to Indiana Rivals, thehoosier.com. Sign up. It's free. It costs you nothing, and it's not going to cost you anything to sign up to be on the site. Go there because that's where the show is going to start emanating from. Thehoosier.com Rivals, we are part of that platform. The shows, they loved them, and they put that on there, so we are grateful and appreciative of that. But head to thehoosier.com. Sign up. Just get in there so you can always go there, and we're going to be putting a lot of content there for you guys. So, but it's free, doesn't cost you anything. But thehoosier.com, go get signed up, and we'll be coming to you there on Saturday. So look forward to that. Baseball for the Hoosiers canceled today as they will play 3 against San Diego over the next 2 days out at the BART. I think the first game tomorrow around 2:05 while we're dealing with basketball. So I'll miss the first game there, but back out there for that second one. And of course the women, they're in action here in a few hours up in Indianapolis as they get ready, as they start playing the Big Ten tournament, as they look to make a little noise to try to bump their seed line one spot so they can get into that top 16 and host a couple of games here next week. Let's see that hopefully they can get that done. Appreciate that. Appreciate everybody on the show today. Nick, of course, with us. Taylor Lehman also from Rivals, thehoosier.com was with us as well. And of course, Todd as well. And Jake does a great job as always. That's going to pretty much wrap it up. We appreciate everybody. Hope you had a great week, and we'll see you on Saturday. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle, and I will see you on the radio.